decided, I had a great meeting with Sally Schindler last week, and she's got a bathroom, and her shower's got some issues. And this is definitely not her shower, but she was asking me about shower pans. What makes them tip? Why do they fail? Why do they work? What is the correct sequence to do stuff, etc. And so I decided, based on that conversation with her, that it's actually a mystery a lot of people have is why do showers fail? So I figured what I would do in this case, let me restart my timer, I'm sorry. Why do showers fail? What makes them work? What makes them not work? And so what I decided to do here is very quickly last night I sat down and I put together a quick diagram, here it is, of what makes up a shower pan. And a shower pan is a really interesting thing. It has two layers of concrete, and we can just kind of zoom in right here. It has a layer of concrete below, which has got a pre-slope of 1/4 inch per foot, which is code. They actually come in with a tape measure, and they will measure to make sure you have a 1/4 inch drop per foot on your pre-slope. At that point in time, you take this blue line here represents the shower pan membrane, which is 60 mil thick PVC. And when you're doing shower pans like that, you have to be very careful not to cut your corners. And so what that basically means is that you have your corners up the wall have to be folded, and then you have to basically secure them. And what I tend to do is I'll sit there on the floor with like a piece of like a wood or something like that, and a hammer, and I'll smack the thing until I get it nice and flat. And I'll pre-fold the whole pan, and I'll set it in the shower folded, and I'll stand it up, and I'll secure it to the studs like that, basically with a nail. And that nail has to be above the level of your shower curb. So all your nail penetrations have to be above the shower curb. If you don't, what will happen is when it fills up with water, because it backs up, water will literally find the penetrations in your membrane and leak straight into your floor. That's there goes your shower pan. So once you've done your membrane and done it correctly, you have another layer of concrete above that, which kind of still slopes, but it allows the tile to be set on something solid. And then you put your tile, and your tile has to basically be 2 inches or smaller typically, because your shower pan is sloped in all directions to the middle. And so if you put anything larger than about 2 inches, those tile will literally bridge the slope, and you'll wind up with a really chunky looking floor that will eventually break. So it's one of those things that most people don't realize. The other thing is when you're doing a shower pan curb, what you need to do basically is you need to make sure that there are no penetrations on the inside or the top of your curb, which makes it very difficult to secure your concrete board. So what I've found out that works really well for me is I'll literally take my concrete board and I'll snap it. I'll score one side, snap it, leaving the membrane on the back side, and I'll wrap it around. And I'll leave a groove in my concrete right here that this stuff drops into. And that locks it in on the inside of the curb. And then I'll basically pack my concrete up against it to make sure that it is tight and doesn't move. And then I'll basically use thin set on the top to secure it to the top. And I'll nail it from the outside so there's 0 penetrations. It's a bit of a trick, and it's one of those things that a lot of guys don't quite figure out, and it usually creates problems in the long run. And again, same game, the membrane goes up. The other thing that I have, unfortunately, to deal with is sometimes they forget to put this little piece of wood on the side here called blocking. And the blocking serves 2 purposes. Where is she? There she is. And that's basically right here. The blocking goes all the way around the perimeter, and what that does is it does 2 things. One, it stops anybody from being able to kick the bottom of the wall and knock the tile in. And I've literally had one shower that I tore out because they've got the blocking, and somebody had hit the thing, and literally tile had gone in, punctured the membrane, and water was leaking right into the next door room. So you've got to make sure that blocking is in. It's one of those little details, right? So once you've got the blocking in, then this is kind of another way of looking at it, and this is a different style. This is a prefabricated one made in the factory. It comes with its own slope and a curb. It's made out of a dense foam, and it's really, really tough stuff. You can literally step on it without damaging it. And the nice thing about this stuff here is you can lay in your thin set, and you can stick this to the thin set and tile. There's literally 0 wait time, which is really, very nice. And if you look at, okay, let's go back to that one in a second. Ordinarily, I fill my pans with water for at least 12 hours. And the reason I do this is because you want to make sure there's no leaks in your membrane. And the only way to really do that is to verify by filling it full of water. And what I'll do is I'll take blue food coloring, or red food coloring, and I'll drop it in there in the corners and around the drain. And it's kind of funny. There is a pinhole leak, and you will never see those bloody things. But if they are there, what will happen is your food coloring will spiral down to the leak and literally suck its way out of the pan. So you know there's a leak there, and you can basically drain it, fix the leak, and then test it again. So you've got to make sure that there are 0 leaks, because very seldom it ever fills up like this. But over time, what will happen is water will eventually work its way through the grout, because grout is not waterproof. It's not supposed to be. Grout is there to stop things from shifting around and create a single cohesive unit. So you have to make sure that your pan is completely waterproof, so that when water does eventually work its way through, which it will, it goes down to the drain and out. So that is that. And there are a couple of different ways of doing shower pans. This is one that we did, which is basically they wanted a bench in the shower. And that creates its own unique set of challenges of making sure that the membrane itself is contiguous all the way up. And you basically, occasionally do have to cut it, but when you cut it, it's a nightmare, because you've got to make sure that it is completely sealed. And so there are basically little pieces of membrane that are shaped, they're circular and they're pre-shaped to basically fit inside the corner or outside the corner to basically you glue that on, and it just creates an extra layer of protection. Now, people sometimes have problems with the showers, and they want to fix their shower without tearing out the pan or tearing out the walls. And this, by the way, is an incorrect application, because you can see there's about 2 inches from there to there, which basically means that they had to tuck that membrane up with a prayer and a wish to make sure that it didn't, didn't leak. And I guarantee you at some point that will leak. This is what they should have done. They should have taken off a couple of rows all the way around, put their membrane in, put new concrete board down. They should have placed it on test, and then gone ahead and retiled everything. And this here is Weedy board. It's a specific product. There's a couple of different ones. It was manufactured in Germany about 20-something years ago. And it's been used in Germany a lot. It came to the States about 10-15 years ago. And what it is, basically, it's a dense foam, and they basically use a adhesive in the corners and all the joints. And that stuff is really fun to work with, because it's very tough. It takes about 2 hours to put together a shower pan, and then you can start tiling. Problem is, the system right now at least costs almost $1,000. That's the material cost, and that's without the labor. So some people don't want to spend the money on that. They'd rather do a traditional shower pan, but if they want something custom, like this is a curbless shower pan, there will be no curb. So what will happen basically is the tile and everything will butt into it and run over and down into the shower. It's really nice, that is one of those things that is, if you can get it, it's nice to do. So when it comes to showers, just remember that the hardest part of a shower is making sure that it doesn't leak. And so that can take usually between 8 to 10 hours of actual install. And anybody that tells you they can do it faster than that is not really doing their job correctly, because they haven't tested it. Part of that 8 to 10 hours is also placing it full of water and leaving it on test for the night, making sure that there is no leaks. So if you do have a shower done, make sure that they understand the process. Have them walk you through how they're doing it. Have them show you the materials they're going to use, and make sure that they truly do understand what they're doing. So if you have any questions, by all means give them me afterwards. My time is up. Thank you very much.